Imagine being a shy gamer and boom, you wake up as a demon lord with god tier stats. Two hot baddies try to make you their pet, but you pull the Uno reverse, now they're yours. He's acting all Sigma Dark Lord, but inside, man's panicking like he just got caught talking to a girl in VC. Takuma Sakamoto is a hardcore player of the fantasy MWMORPG Cross Reverie, which is the most popular game in his world. His character in the game, the one person known as a true demon lord Diablo, is not a real monster, but is a top legendary player and is crazy strong. While sitting on his demon throne, a couple approaches him, and being a lonely single guy in real life, he destroys them with his character's immense power. To Takuma, Cross Reverie isn't just a game, which is why he strongly disapproves of players who bring concepts like love into this virtual world. However, one day, he finds himself transported to another world as his character in the game, the demon lord, Diablo. He wakes up to find himself being pecked by two really hot demi-human girls. The shock hits him when he realizes he has actually become Diablo. The two girls who performed a summoning spell begin to argue over who summoned him first like it's a K-pop bias war. Meanwhile, Diablo is just there, trying to figure out what creatures they are. Listening to their argument, he realizes that they are standing at a summoning point in Cross Reverie, a place where one can summon and enslave new summons. Suddenly, it dawns on him that he has never had a real-life conversation, leaving him unsure how to speak to the girls. However, he recalls his in-game conversations with female characters. With newfound confidence, he tells them to stop arguing as they are in the presence of Diablo. His voice sounds much more commanding than Takuma's, which intimidates the girls. Surprised that a summoned creature can talk, he commands them to shake hands and make up. A strong force compels them to obey, and a collar appears around their necks, leaving everyone very surprised. As they head back to the city, Sherah, an elf, expresses her disappointment that the collar is on them and not on Diablo, whom it was meant for. He questions whether they used the enslavement ritual on him, to which they admit they did. Diablo remembers he possesses an item that reflects all magic. He tells them that because of his ability to reflect magic, their enslavement ritual was cast upon themselves instead. Sherah suddenly stops and recalls that they haven't introduced themselves, so they do. Rem, a Pantherian, is already an adventurer, while Sherah aspires to become one. Diablo announces that he is a demon lord, and the trio continues their journey to Faltra. They stop by an inn where May provides them a single room with one bed after they argue about who Diablo should stay with. Soon, there's a knock on the door. Celestine, the head of the town's mage association and an important character responsible for maintaining the barrier protecting the town, asks to speak with Rem. Diablo recognizes her from the game. Celestine notices the collars on both girls' necks and expresses her desire to hear their story. They sit down to talk, while Sherah only focuses on the food excitedly. Celestine learns about the enslavement magic reflection and asks if Diablo can release them, but he admits he doesn't know how. Celes says they would have to research it. Diablo grows suspicious of Celestine's visit to the inn, knowing she must have come for something important. His question about it irritates Galford, who then tries to silence Diablo. On the inside, Diablo is terrified. Galford scares him. However, he can't help but act like some glorified dude, as his character is supposed to be a prideful wannabe demon lord. Instead of chickening out, he scares Galford back. Celes scolds Galford for being rude to Diablo. Rem tells Celestine that she doesn't want to go to the Mage Association headquarters, and she also doesn't want bodyguards. Celes assures her that she is only trying to help and reminds her that she is important to their world. Rem insists that she can protect herself. Unable to convince her otherwise, Celes leaves, promising to look into how to remove the collars. Diablo then questions Rem about why Celes would visit her. He suspects she has a secret. Rem denies it, but Diablo would not have it. His instincts as a seasoned gamer tell him that her situation is likely important to the storyline and must be uncovered quickly before it's too late. This makes him determined to uncover Rem's secret soon. Suddenly, Diablo picks Rem up onto his shoulder like a sack of flour, claiming he's going to torture her. Sherah remains silent. She's scared and focuses on her food. Upon arriving in their room, Diablo reassures Rem that he won't harm her as long as she shares her secret. Rem is stubborn. She assumes Diablo would abandon her if he learned her secret. Diablo pins her down and tortures her in his little perverted way. At one point in his so-called torture, he bites her ear, causing Rem to scream. The noise alerts Sherah and some men downstairs who consider checking on her, but Sherah says she has to finish eating first. Eventually, they sit down to talk. Rem decides to reveal her secret as Diablo promised to accept her no matter what. She tells him that the soul of the demon lord Curbskulm is sealed within her. Diablo is taken aback. Curbskulm is the most powerful boss in Cross Reverie. This confirms the fact that he is really in Cross Reverie. Ren explains to Diablo that her goal is to defeat Curbskulm, and Celes is trying to help her achieve it. Diablo informs her that there is currently no way to remove the demon soul from within her unless she dies. Even then, it would require a lot of strength to extract Curbskulm and defeat her. He also realizes that the only person who knows about Rem's situation is Celes. Rem confirms this and adds that Celes is aware that Curbskulm's soul will be released upon her death. It turns out that Rem's mother also had the soul of Curbskulm in her. Diablo feels that this is a cruel fate for Rem. He then promises to help her defeat Curbskulm, suggesting that they should spend time researching a way to extract it first. Rem is moved to tears. It's the first time someone has promised not to leave her after hearing her story. Not knowing how to comfort her, Diablo feels awkward. When Sherah finally goes to the room, she finds Rem alone in bed. Meanwhile, Diablo, who is used to being alone, sits by a well in the city. He assumes that someone with poor social skills like himself would not be useful to anyone. At that moment, Galak approaches him, holding a grudge for how Diablo spoke to him earlier that day. Galak insults demi-humans, trying to trigger the dude to fight, but Diablo chooses to ignore him and tries to walk away. In response, Galak throws a bottle at him, causing Diablo to stop. Galak, clearly drunk, keeps ranting. He removes a crystal and throws it to the ground, summoning a level 30 salamander. Unknown to him, Diablo is a level 150. The other mages are against Galak using a summon in the city, but bro is too power drunk to think straight. To him, the salamander is going to destroy Diablo. He tells Diablo to apologize, then he'll let him go with a few burns. Diablo is shocked at how low level the salamander is compared to its size. When the salamander breathes fire at Diablo, Galuk assumes he is done for, but to his shock, Diablo walks through the flames like it's warm breeze. Surprised, Galuk commands the salamander to attack again. Diablo stands in the flame unfazed and calmly informs Galak of his level, which only surprises Galak further. He thinks it's a bluff, unable to believe that someone of such a high level could exist. Diablo unsheathes his sword and casts an explosion spell, defeating the lizard with ease. Galak, terrified, hides away like a wimp, still in shock. Diablo, with pride, reminds Galak that he is a demon lord from another world. The next day at the inn, Diablo wakes up and looks around. He realizes that it's not a dream. He is actually in a different world, similar to Cross Reverie. He sits up, determined to figure things out, but then he notices that his hand is resting on Sherah's chest. He tries to remove it, but his hand seems to have a mind of its own. At the same time, he realizes his other hand is on Rem. Sherah wakes up and quickly moves away from Diablo, telling him that it's not good to do that. Rem also wakes up and turns red when she realizes where his hand is. Trying to be bold, Diablo tells her to be proud of her little asset. On their way to the Adventurer Guild, Rem is upset about what happened earlier, while Sherah teases her about it. Diablo notices that the area is filled with demi-humans. Sherah explains that this is the block where demi-humans live, and hardly any humans come by. Diablo realizes that humans have beef with demi-humans. This explains why Galak attacked him the previous day. Sherah points out that in this world, strength is measured by levels. Rem announces that she is a level 40 summoner, while Sherah, who is not yet an adventurer, doesn't know her level. Rem says that at the Adventurer Guild, they'll be able to check their levels. Sherah assumes she'll be a level 40 or 50, but Rem tells her she'll likely be a level 10, leading to an argument between them. When they arrive at the guild, they see two men fighting, which scares Diablo. Rem leads them to the second floor to register. Sherah fills out her information, and Diablo, unable to read the writing, makes her write his information as well, using the excuse that he dislikes tedious work. Sherah eagerly agrees. The receptionist asks Diablo to make a small cut and sign with his blood, and he ends up making a massive cut, spilling blood everywhere. Next, Sherah and Diablo are taken to the front of a mirror to assess their power. Sherah goes first and places her hand on the mirror. Her reflection reveals her to be a level 30, leaving her upset that she's a level lower than Rem. When it's Diablo's turn, he touches the mirror, which suddenly sparks with electricity, covering the whole guild. Everyone in the guild is panicking. As Diablo releases his hand from the mirror, Sylvie, the guild master, appears and asks what just happened. She invites Diablo and the girls to her office. Once there, she explains that the mirror has never reacted like that, and she's unsure how to handle someone like him. Sylvie informs Diablo that she doesn't know how high his level is, but he is beyond their understanding. If he registers, she won't be able to decide what missions are suitable for him. She reveals that she is weaker than he is, and accepting him would mean he has to be okay with being ordered around by her. Diablo responds that he doesn't care, as long as she pays out the reward. She shakes hands with him, welcoming him to the guild. Sylvie gives them a new quest, but warns them that something seems off about the job. Diablo and the girls set out on their quest, which is to defeat a snake in the man-eating woods. Rem knows that the job is quite dangerous, but Diablo reassures the girls that they should let him handle it. He suggests teleporting there to make it easier, but the girls don't understand what that means, even as he tries to explain. Sherah remarks that if something like that existed, everyone would use it. After 5 hours of walking, they finally arrive at the woods, and Diablo is very tired. While near the water, Sherah asks how they are going to find the snake, and Rem frightens her by saying it could be lurking in the water, causing Sherah to jump back. As Diablo wonders how they will get around the forest without a map, Sherah senses people in the trees and asks Rem if she does too, but Rem doesn't. Sherah points out where they are, and Diablo casts a fire spell, destroying the trees. Immediately, elves jump down from the trees. Sherah recognizes one of them and asks Celsior why he is there. He tells her he's there to rescue her. They assume Diablo is a slave trader and demand that he return Sherah, revealing that she is a princess from the elven royal family. Diablo insists he is not a slave trader, but Celsior does not believe him and says the enslavement collar is proof, ordering Diablo to release her from it. Diablo suspects that someone in the Mage Association may have set them up. Sherah tells Celsior that she doesn't care about the royal family, even though he insists everyone is worried about her. Sherah argues that Kira only needs an heir from her, and the two go back and forth while Rem and Diablo watch. She also says that she is not being enslaved. Celsior is determined to take her back, even if it means using force. Rem tells Sherah that it's impressive how she stands up for herself, which touches Sherah. Diablo also defends Sherah, warning the elves that they made a mistake by choosing him as their enemy. The elves shoot arrows at Diablo, but they do not pierce his skin. Celsior tries again with a Tempest arrow. Sherah tries to make Diablo run, but when Celsior fires the arrow, it barely affects Diablo and simply bounces off him. This makes Sherah very happy, whereas the elves are confused. Diablo then pulls out his staff wrath and cast a freeze spell, turning the entire area into ice. The elves suddenly feel very cold, and at that moment Galuk runs out, revealing that he was behind the whole thing just as Diablo guessed. Galuk scolds the elves, calling them useless. When Diablo calls for his attention, Galuk explains that he only informed them about the elf princess's presence and never mentioned that Diablo was a slave trader. It was the elves who misunderstood. Diablo warns Galuk not to involve himself with him again, or he will eliminate him without mercy. Rem then comments on what Celes would think upon discovering that Galuk used the name of the Mage Association to lay a trap for them. Galuk, feeling threatened, runs away but trips and falls. Sherah instructs the elves to inform Kira that she won't be returning and that her companions are Rem and Diablo. She turns to Rem and suggests they should go home, but Rem is cold towards her again. Sherah thought they had formed a bond, while Diablo just watches them. Back at the inn, Sherah and Diablo are alone in the room as Rem went to tell Celes about what happened. Diablo feels awkward and doesn't know how to keep the conversation going, leaving Sherah to carry the discussion. At one point, he mentions helping Rem defeat Krebsgolm, and Sherah asks if he's choosing Rem since she is also focused on Krebsgolm. Diablo finds himself at a loss for words. Sherah then hugs him, expressing that she needs him too, which leaves Diablo unsure of how to respond. She pushes him down as he tries to hold her off, and his hands rest on her chest. He tells her he hasn't chosen Rem and that he won't obey either of them. Just then, Rem walks in on them. The next day at the guild, Diablo and the girls are with Sylvie, who informs them about a specific quest request for Diablo. Sherah expresses concern, saying it better not be a trap again. Sylvie clarifies that the request is from Celes and adds that the reward is high for how simple the task is. Rem, however, says she won't be going, as she doesn't want to owe Celes any favors. Sherah thinks it would be beneficial for them since they don't have much money. Sylvie tells them it's a straightforward mission and that they'd be fine even if they don't do it together. Sherah asks Diablo for his opinion, and he tells Rem to stay in the city if she doesn't want to join them, to which she agrees. Their mission is to deliver refreshments to the bridge of Ulug. Rem storms away from them angrily outside the Adventurers Guild. Sherah defends Celes, stating that she's a nice person. Diablo is then approached by Emil, who tells him he's heard rumors about a certain demon, referring to Diablo, but Diablo is wearing a distorted crown, which makes the wearer appear more like a demon lord, and is surprised that they think it's a real horn. Rem informs Diablo that Emil is said to be the strongest warrior in the Adventurers Guild. Emil introduces himself, stating that he is level 50 and calls himself a superhuman warrior. He draws his sword and challenges Diablo to prepare for a fight. Diablo sees a pop-up notification. It's just like in the game. He's not a real demon lord without a challenger. He accepts Emil's challenge, and Emil declares that he loves all women, just a low-budget Sanji. He then states that he cannot allow Diablo to enslave Rem and Sherah. When Sherah and Rem try to explain the situation, Emil cuts them off and promises to save them. The fight begins, and Diablo analyzes Emil's moves, feeling excited at the chance to battle, but bro is just aura farming for how many minutes? Emil strikes at Diablo like lightning, but Diablo stops the blow mid-air. Emil then takes another stance, and in the midst of transforming, Diablo knocks him away. Diablo thinks to himself that it's like fighting an amateur, and wonders if the levels in this world are lower than in the game, or if Emil is just an idiot. Emil gets back up, determined not to lose, but before he can attack again, Sherah and Rem intervene. They explain the situation to Emil, causing Diablo to feel second-hand embarrassment. Emil, relieved, apologizes to Diablo and tells him to call on him whenever he needs help before walking away happily. He's really an idiot. Rem apologizes to Diablo for the drama, saying that Emil isn't a bad person. Diablo and Sherah then set off on their mission, with Sherah carrying the food basket and Diablo checking the map. Along the way, they come across a stream and Sherah suggests they take a bath. Diablo imagines things and begins stuttering. He tells her that they can't bathe in the middle of a quest. Sherah says she wants to do something fun, but Diablo warns her that it could trigger an invasion where high-level monsters appear during a low-level quest. Frightened, Sherah hugs him tightly, stating that she wants to be strong like him and Rem, making Diablo blush even more. Eventually, they arrive at Ulug, where the guards stop them, initially mistaking Diablo for a fallen. One guard realizes he's just a demon and mentions they've heard rumors about him. Sherah shows them the food basket. Diablo inquires why they mistook him for a fallen, sensing something is off. The guard informs him that they've just received a report that a massive army of over 100 fallen is heading their way. Diablo is shocked, as he has never heard of fallen attacking in groups since they were typically boss monsters in the game. The guards are busy trying to put things in order. Knowing they don't stand a chance against such numbers with their low levels and skills, Diablo tells Sherah that the fallen shouldn't be able to enter Faltra because of Celes's barrier protecting it. Sherah mentions that there have been rumors of fallen gathering, waiting for Krebsgolm's arrival. This leads Diablo to realize that their target is Rem. He considers returning to the city, knowing that even with his powers, it would be tough to take down 100 fallen. The guard gives them a letter of gratitude to indicate that they've gotten the food. Diablo scolds him for focusing on that during an emergency. The guard tries to act cool, but Diablo can see his hand shaking. How many aura points did he lose? He questions why they won't retreat, but the guard explains that they can't because of field workers and slow travelers. Their job is to buy enough time for everyone to flee into the city. Stepping past him, Diablo heads toward the city gate, determined that this won't be their last day. Meanwhile, back in the city, Rem is informed that she has a visitor, Celes. At the border, the guard tells Diablo that the last traveler has passed and they're going to lower the gates to buy more time for them to reach the city. Diablo Diablo tells him to go ahead, but the guard urges him to reconsider going back, warning that it would be reckless to face the Fallen alone. Just then, the Fallen arrive, and Diablo watches closely, but the guards panic. Diablo instructs both of them to fall back, explaining that their presence will hinder his ability to use magic. The guard attempts to argue, but Sherah reassures him, saying that Diablo is strong. They retreat, and the gate is lowered. Sherah's words boost Diablo's confidence, making him feel capable of overcoming any challenge at that moment. He calls out to the Fallen, demanding to know who granted them permission to be there. One of the Fallen steps forward and taunts Diablo, calling him weak. In response, Diablo strikes him away, sending him flying for miles. Meanwhile, in the city, Celeste informs Rem that she has dismissed Galak due to his past actions against them and for bringing a summon into the city. She also apologizes on his behalf. Rem reassures her that it's okay, and Celeste mentions that Galuk claimed Diablo is a demon lord, suspecting he is a Fallen, drawn to her because of Krebscomb within her. Rem stands up for Diablo, literally, saying that he had multiple opportunities to kill her, but instead chose to protect her. She recalls the night he promised to help her defeat Krebscomb. Just then, Galuk appears and attacks the receptionist. The noise alerts Silas and Rem, who are surprised to see him there. Galuk demands that Silas reconsider her decision to expel him from the Mage Association. He's yelling and all about hurting some mages because they told him he's fired. Silas tries to calm him down so they can have a proper conversation, but he's not having it. He then pulls out a really strange knife. The other mages try to talk him out of it. Suddenly, the eye of the knife opens. Rem has a bad feeling about the whole thing and summons a shadow snake to bind Galak, but it's too late as Galak already stabs himself. He screams out in pain as a fallen Gregor emerges from him. He easily unbinds himself from the shadow snake. At the border, Diablo defeats a lot of Fallen. The guard and Sherah finds it amazing. His next opponent is Edelgard, the strongest lancer of the Fallen. She gets down from her ride and gracefully approaches him. She takes her stance, ready to attack, and says she's not going to lose to some demon sorcerer. Diablo realizes that if he can defeat her, there's a good chance the others will withdraw, as she is their commander. The villagers are being guided to the city by the guards. They're not worried because Silas's barrier is still protecting the main city. Meanwhile, Gregor identifies Seals and seeks to destroy her. He mentions that even her barrier was unable to detect a camouflaged Fallen. Celeste still can't believe that Galak would lead a Fallen there. The other guards think Galak was tricked into doing it. They ask Rem to protect Celeste while they hold Gregor back. Battle ensues, and Rem takes Silas by the hand and makes a run for it while raising the alarm for everyone in the area to run. They eventually run into a dead end, and before they can make it out, Gregor has already caught up with them. With nowhere left to run, Rem chooses to fight. She pulls out a summoning crystal and summons Asulau, a magical bull with multiple horns, and it immediately attacks Gregor, who destroys the summon with a single blow. Gregor then turns his attention to Rem, but before he's able to attack, Emil, the strongest warrior in the Adventurers Guild, jumps in between Gregor and his targets. He introduces himself and states that Gregor's targeting of women is reason enough for him not to forgive the presence of a Fallen within the town. Some adventurers arrive to help Emil. Gregor gets excited and hopes the party can entertain him. Emil charges head on, but most of his attacks are blocked by Gregor, who praises him for being pretty strong for a human. Gregor retaliates by releasing an aura burst, which blows Emil backwards. Gregor reveals that he's the strongest sorcerer in the man-eating woods. He also adds that, other than being a sorcerer, he is also a fighter type, right before releasing a projectile spell at Emil, which shatters a part of his armor and sends him flying backwards. Still, Emil gets back up, resolved to protect all women, while Gregor continues to hit him with spells. On the other side, Diablo and Edelgard are locked in battle. Diablo is mostly dodging her attacks and even has time to analyze her moves mid-combat. Talk about overpowered. He guesses she's a level 80. He tells her that it's foolish to think she can defeat him, hoping she'd surrender, but instead, she resorts to charging up her final move, Sacrificial Charge, to overpower him. However, Diablo sees another opportunity to break her will to fight, so he provokes her, telling her she can go ahead and try to damage him. Her final move is fully charged and ready, so she charges at him the tip of her spear. Her spear meets his armor. Lightning erupts from the impact, and a shockwave of wind shakes the battlefield. The charge doesn't end there. She continues to land her attacks on Diablo, making him stagger, and the final one to his shoulder at least made him kneel on one knee, but other than the jerk to his shoulder, he is unfazed by her attacks. Edelgard, sweating and visibly terrified, could have sworn she landed a solid hit. While Team Diablo is rejoicing for him, a guard rushes to the tower to pass news about Silas and Rem being attacked by a Fallen in the city. A smirk returns to Edelgard's face. She calls Gregor an idiot but commends him for a job well done. Diablo realizes that the Fallen planned to break the barrier by killing Celis and then push through there and storm the city. He realizes he needs to act fast. Diablo tells Sherah and the guards that he's about to use grand magic, and anyone who doesn't want to die should take cover behind the walls of the tower as he begins powering a powerful spell. While at it, he says he does not pity the Fallen, but he'll spare them if they retreat. Edelgard responds by saying that she seeks the revival of the Demon Lord as well as the extermination of humanity. Diablo releases his spell, White Nova, and it unleashes a white blast that blows away all of the Fallen. Much to Diablo's surprise, Edelgard manages to survive the spell, but he leaves in a hurry to get to the city. The distance is too far, so he tells Sherah that he wants to try Return Magic, a teleportation spell from the game. He casts the spell and a bright light flashes, and he disappears with Sherah. Meanwhile, the party of adventurers has been defeated by Gregor, and Emil is on his last toes, still promising to protect Celise and Rem no matter what, much to Gregor's annoyance. Just as he's about to resume his projectile spells, a gust of wind pushes him away. Demon Lord Diablo has come. Celise and Rem are in shock at the arrival of their friendly neighborhood Demon Lord, but he doesn't look so friendly this time. Gregor hurt Rem, whom Diablo had promised to protect, and as far as Diablo is concerned, that's unforgivable. Sherah hugs Rem and asks if she's okay, to which Rem responds by saying that it's nothing and that they should worry about Emil instead, who took the most damage. Diablo acknowledges Emil's stand against the Fallen and says he'll take it from there. Emil, finally knowing he can leave the fight to Diablo, passes out, and Diablo gives a healing potion to Celise and asks her to use it on Emil while he takes on the Fallen. Celise is worried about Diablo going up against the Fallen alone to protect them, but he says that he's only giving Gregor a fitting punishment for invading his base. Diablo analyzes Gregor and instantly figures out he's a fighter sorcerer, and expresses surprise that there's one even among the Fallen. Gregor tries to provoke Diablo by saying he'll end him and afterwards destroy the barrier by unaliving Celise, but Diablo cuts in, assuring Gregor that even if he were to win, Edelgard and the rest of the Fallen would not be coming because Diablo laid waste to their ranks, but Gregor isn't having any of it and calls his bluff. Diablo simply responds by telling Gregor that he'll understand once they fight each other. Gregor opens by using the projectile spell, which Diablo deflects. The projectile spell is deflected back at Gregor, who takes significant damage from it. Diablo releases a series of spells at Gregor, destroying his armor. Diablo then taunts Gregor and tells him that a fallen sorcerer should be capable of using more than just one spell. Gregor responds to this by releasing Dark Breath, but Diablo deflects it back at Gregor, who is barely able to stand while giving his all to resist the great force. Gregor starts to panic, but Diablo releases more Dark Press, and Gregor is no longer able to resist the force and is pushed into the ground. Gregor starts begging for mercy and promises to leave the city, but Diablo is not having any of it and unleashes another spell that sucks Gregor in and seals him in a dimension of darkness for eternity. Diablo almost falls but catches himself just in time. The exhaustion is catching up to him. Sherah is the first to run and hug Diablo, no surprise there, seeing as she's the only one who hasn't taken any damage. Rem follows behind and takes Diablo by the hand, thanking him for coming to her rescue. He freaks out internally, wondering what a demon lord would say at a time like this. He ends up with the worst response, reminding her that as long as the enslavement collars remain on her neck, she belongs to him and that he'd protect his possession, all while trying to look smug and failing because of the visible embarrassment on his face. Oddly enough, Rem tells him that she's happy to belong to him as long as the collars remain. Sherah wants in too, and Diablo can't help but accept her. No surprise there, seeing as she hugged his hand tight between her quite sizable breasts, a known weakness of the Demon Lord. 3 days later, those who had fallen from the invasion of the Fallen were laid to rest. Diablo is coming to terms with the fact that unlike in the game, Cross Reverie, everyone has one life here. It's been 10 days already since the incident. Diablo is still in bed at a late hour. He really used up a lot of magic points, which he hasn't gotten over since then. Sherah tries to wake him up to go on an adventure with her by jumping on him. Diablo opens his eyes only to find Sherah with barely any clothes on sitting on him. He freaks out as usual and asks why she's dressed like that, to which she answers by saying that Sylvie, the guildmaster, said it would make a man feel more happy, energetic. Rem walks in on them and it's clear she's upset and proceeds to dive kick Sherah off Diablo. They both start arguing about Diablo and they each end up holding his hands and hugging them tightly. Sylvie walks into the room and greets the party, appreciates that they're getting along pretty well, and proceeds to deliver the information she brought to them. The Lord of Faltra City has received demands from the Elven Kingdom for Sherah to be handed over, and that they're not afraid to wage war if their demands are not met. Diablo, visibly upset, asks Sylvie if their guild accepted a quest that requires turning Sherah over to the Elven Kingdom. Sylvie quickly tries to explain that she'd never try to take Sherah from a person that had defeated an entire army of Fallen. She proceeds to explain to Diablo that the quest she's giving to them is simply to stop a war from breaking out with the Elven Kingdom. Sylvie tells them that the deadline is 10 days from now and the elves are not afraid to wage war if their demands are not met. Sherah can't believe that two nations would be going to war because of her. Diablo remembers that Sherah had clearly made it clear that she doesn't want to go home and wonders why they won't give up. Sylvie adds that they'd like Diablo to find a way to prevent the war, but he refuses. Internally, he's panicking over it. He doesn't think he has the communication skills to do it. Sylvie tells him that the Prince of Greenwood has put a heavy bounty on Sherah's head too. Diablo becomes angry that Sherah's brother would put a bounty on his sister and assures her that no one would lay a finger on her. They then set out to meet the Lord of the City, a hero who had fought in a war and defeated several Fallen single-handedly. Sylvie tells him about the Lord and asks Diablo to be careful how he speaks to him. They finally arrive at the Lord's Hall and a grim-faced man is seated at the head of the table. After Sylvie lets him know that Diablo has accepted the quest to prevent war, he introduces himself as the one the Royal King has entrusted with the city of Faltra. Diablo manages to introduce himself without trouble. General Chester explains the elves' strategy and plan, revealing that the elves have set an ambush in the forest east of Faltra. He also reminds Diablo that there'd be no need for discussing strategies if Diablo would just hand over the princess, which Diablo adamantly refuses. Chester introduces the party to a representative of the royal capital who was dispatched concerning the matter, Alicia, an Imperial Knight. Diablo recognizes her title as Imperial Knight, a position position only reserved for the elite of the elite. Alicia hands Sylvie a bag of some treasure from the royal capital and tells her it's compensation for the adventurer she lost during the Fallen invasion incident. She then proceeds to introduce herself to Rem and Sherah. Diablo is intimidated by how good she is at communication. She finally acknowledges Diablo, recognizing his feats at the battle with the Fallen, and requests to join their party for the quest. They set out to find a weaponsmith. Diablo needs a weapon that will let him go easy on his opponents, as he doesn't want to show his power to Alicia. He ends up getting a scythe. As they're about to set out and get some ingredients to make magic potions, some bounty hunters attack and make away with Sherah, and before Diablo can chase them down, the rest of the party is intercepted by more bounty hunters, which Diablo blows away with one swing of his new weapon and chases down Sherah's abductors. Just before they make away with Sherah, Emil drops in, knocking the abductors out, introducing himself once more as an ally of women. The bounty hunters are rounded up and bound together. Sherah thanks Emil for his help, which he responds to by saying he can smell women in trouble, which creeps out Rem, Sherah, and Alicia. Emil asks that the party should leave the bounty hunters to him. Sherah expresses gratitude to Diablo for saving her, and he asks her not to stray too far from him again, which she responds to by asking if she can hold his hand. Rem rushes to his side as well, praising him for his strength despite not using magic. Alicia apologizes for the incident and blames herself for being inattentive. Diablo reminds her that he is the demon lord Diablo, and he never needed her help from the start. He asks her to forgive herself for being useless and to do as she pleases during their time together. But before they're about to set out to their next destination, Alicia's stomach starts growling, and the party decides to grab a bite first. The day ends with the girls squabbling over what to eat. At a tavern, Celestine discloses to Diablo and the others that she has found a way they can get rid of the enslavement collars. As much as they're stoked, I mean, who wouldn't be? It's a mystery how they sleep in those things. Celestine mentions it isn't certain yet. The idea is to learn how to remove the collars at a slave caravan that had just set up a market in the central plaza. Since enslavement collars and slave collars are almost the same on a magical level, there's a possibility of the same technique working for both. Alicia points out that resolving the issue with Greenwood is more pressing. Although Diablo admits it is tried, he decides they go ahead with the enslavement collar journey, as he wants to get rid of the collars as soon as possible. When they arrive at the slave caravan, they meet the one in charge, and she introduces herself as Meteos. Her first thought is that Rima and Sherah are slaves, and that Diablo is here to sell them. This hits a nerve with Diablo as he angrily corrects her take, and Meteos apologizes. She mentions that Diablo possesses an immense level of magical power within him, as she can sense it. Surprisingly, Sherah can too. She has always been able to. Meteos checks the letters sent by Celestine and understands the objective. Before going into business, she mentions that Rem too possesses a great share of magical power, evil even, suspecting her to be pregnant for a demon. Things get awkward as all suspicions lead to Diablo, which is totally better than them figuring out that the soul of a demon lord, Krebskulm, is sealed off inside her. Diablo orders Meteos to cut to the chase and show him the procedure, and she agrees. Since she wouldn't want the procedure, which is a secret according to her, to get leaked, Alicia decides to step out. Rem follows as she feels uneasy. Sherah, despite always being aware of the strong magical core in Rem, has always assumed that Rem was just a powerful adventurer, and Rem is relieved that Sherah didn't think too deeply. Seeing how close Rem's secret was to being exposed, which would have caused a lot of hassle, Diablo is more determined to help her out. It seems Meteos' spookiness intimidated both Alicia and Rem, as Alicia mentions that she felt like Meteos was going to see right through her. As an Imperial Knight, she's more vulnerable to living more lies in the course of being righteous. Rem mentions that she was afraid her secret would be revealed, and Alicia has an idea, a spell to keep secrets from being exposed. She's just trying to be useful, but as she casts the spell, something does happen. Alicia is surprised, but it seems Rem didn't notice it, but says she felt a warm sensation. Alicia feels the spell may have actually worked, more so because she's doing it with a sorcerer Rem. Rem says she feels more relaxed talking to Alicia and thanks Alicia, who is just happy to help. Back inside, the enslavement collar removal procedure is about to begin. Diablo is to read Sherah's magic power, which he does, and pour his energy into her. The process is awkward and uncomfortable, but they go on with it. At the end of the day, Diablo couldn't figure out a way to get rid of the collars. As he lies there lifelessly, fatigued, he explains that there was a barrier in the collar's magic flow. It is messy, intertwining endlessly, and Diablo has to go through it. He likens the scenario to being in a smoky room where he can't see if breath very well. Away from all this gloominess is Sherah, who is very energetic after receiving Diablo's magic essence. They're about to turn in for the night, and just as Alicia is making her way to the door to head to the room she rented next door, they all hear a sound from a flute. Sherah is particularly familiar with the sound. The door opens and an elf, Sherah's brother, Kira, walks in. Everyone is surprised upon learning that Kira is Sherah's brother. He's pretty chill and introduces himself, asking Sherah to return with him. In a split second, Diablo is all in his face for putting a bounty on Sherah, but Kira makes a comeback with the fact that the adventurers seeking the bounty reportedly were unsuccessful. Kira is abnormally chill and nice, like he's about to introduce some Ponzi scheme refuting every allegation of him planning to wage war. Sherah calls him out for acting differently from his regular self. Alicia mentions that they'll be happy to resolve everything peacefully, but it does seem as though he is trying out a different approach since violence didn't work. Kira quickly apologizes for neglecting Sherah, stating that he didn't realize what he should have cherished until he lost her, kinda how Zack Snyder fans are with Man of Steel right now. Rem points out that all that matters matters is Sherah's feelings. Only she has the say on whether or not to return with him or stay back with them. Kira agrees to that, apologizing once again before taking his leave. He mentions he'll be back the next day in hopes of hearing how Sherah truly feels about this. Diablo asks to confirm if Kara's plan B, if Sherah refuses to go with him, is war, and Kara refutes like a saint, swearing that he'll respect her decision. He asks Diablo the same, and Diablo mentions that he too will respect Sherah's choice. Sherah stares into space while everyone is asleep, brooding. Turns out Rem is awake and joins her for a little chat. Rem asks if Sherah will decide to go with her brother, but Sherah confirms without any form of indecisiveness that she isn't returning home. Sherah gets to talk about her home, but gets her escalating voice shushed by Rem, who is trying not to wake Diablo. But this time, Diablo is already awake but just lies there listening. When Rem asks, Sherah mentions that she'd love to open a cafe, aside from being an adventurer. She'd love for Diablo and Rem to work there as well, as they are her first friends and only ones she can call family. Rem mentions that she can't be part of Sherah's future as she has her own troubles at the moment. Until the problem is solved, she doesn't have room to think about the future. She talks about the intensity of what she's facing, and Sherah offers to help in any way she can. Having Diablo is Rem's trump card, as he most likely can help her out. Rem adds that if Sherah is still open to having her after the issue is resolved, then she'll gladly join them. Kira plays his flute atop a tree, aura farming with the iconic Piccolo cliff edge stance. He ends his play with an evil grin. He boasts confidently that Sherah will belong to him the next day. Diablo has flashbacks of his childhood in his dream. The ones he believed to be his friends weren't truly his friends, and upon discovery, Diablo stands there dumbfounded and feeling betrayed. By morning, Rem announces that she's returning to Sylvie and Silas, while Alicia is heading to Lord Galford, both to make a report about what happened with Prince Kira. They urge Sherah to be careful, as apart from the risk of another group of adventurers attacking, Kira might come to hear her decision himself. Diablo mentions that whatever happens, he won't give away Sherah, and she assures them that if that happens, she'll clearly reject him. With this, they bid farewell. Diablo goes ahead to make preparations, creating portions. He starts the process and subconsciously creates the portions really quickly. Sherah is impressed and excited by watching this. Diablo does let out a smile for a moment, letting go of his demon lord act for a second. Although he's embarrassed about it, Sherah mentions that she likes the look, aware of how odd it is for him to make such a face. Away from his emo guy disguise, Diablo wishes deep down that someday he'll be able to communicate properly, not having to sound like he's giving some villain monologue every time he talks. He makes another embarrassing slip-up, rephrasing what Sherah has said before in the past, that it'll be nice if moments like this could go on forever. Diablo totally regrets that almost as soon as he utters these words. Just as Sherah is about to respond to this, there's a whistling sound which makes her stop amidst her sentence. Kira has arrived and Diablo confirms it, but there's a sudden switch-up in Sherah's decision as she now reveals that she's returning to Greenwood. Diablo is in disbelief, totally confused. He can't impose as he promised to respect Sherah's decision. He speechlessly watches the carriage go. Just then, Alicia and Rem return, and seeing Diablo not looking quite alright, they ask what the issue is. They're as surprised as he is when he tells them Diablo isn't going to take any action, and according to him, he's just going to sleep. Lying in bed, he tries to understand what went wrong, as Sherah wouldn't lie. His intense brooding does lead to sobbing as he's basically broken. After giving Diablo some space, Rem goes to talk to him. She doesn't believe Sherah would choose to go as she has plans and dreams with him away from Greenwood, stating that Sherah isn't one capable of lying, let alone keeping it all this time. Rem mentions the possibility of Sherah being under a mind control spell. Diablo is aware of the possibility, mentioning that Kira was playing a flute when he arrived, but at any rate, he has no proof. It brings back memories of his supposed friends back in his childhood, where he believed, convincing himself that they were his friends, but in reality, they weren't. The thought that this might be the case with Sherah adds up, not because it's likely true, but because of his childhood trauma. Rem mentions that she's heading to help Sherah, as she believes in her, but Diablo is still conflicted. He doesn't want to go through that pain of getting rejected all over again. Diablo lashes out, asking why Rem would want to go on with her intentions, and Rem replies that Sherah is her friend, which to be honest is giving one piece. This is an eye-opener to Diablo as he remembers all his moments with Sherah. Rem is about to leave when Diablo decides to join her. He's back to being charismatic, wielding that scythe that looked like it came out of an episode of Parasite. Alicia volunteers to help as well, notwithstanding her status as an Imperial Knight, and although Diablo once said she mustn't try to be useful, he's totally fine with that. Kira gloats about the strength and influence of his flute, as well as his perfectly executed plans, while Sherah is tied up. After a moment of petty bragging, Kira uses the spell again, but this time, he compels Sherah to tell him what Diablo demanded of her. Kira gets frustrated with Sherah's reply as he finds it unbelievable that Diablo has made close to no orders apart from when he made Sherah and Rem reconcile. Just as he reveals his evil intentions, there's an explosion, indicating the arrival of trouble, Diablo. Kira doesn't make much progress before Diablo gets to his tent. Diablo apologizes for being late whilst maintaining his composure. He doesn't farm Aura farms him. Kira is being straight up annoying, and this pisses Diablo off, who frees Sherah. It's all jokes until Kira sees what they've done to the rest of the place. Kira is beyond upset, nagging like his PS5 got knocked over to its doom. However, Diablo mentions he's only there to confirm Sherah's decision, mentioning the allegation that Kira manipulated Sherah. Although Kira denies, Diablo just wants to confirm confirm by asking Sherah again. Kira pulls his stunt, and once again, Sherah says she wants to remain in Greenwood. This is music to Kira's ears, but not for long, as Diablo intervenes. Using his authority as the owner of Sherah's enslavement collar, he commands Sherah to express herself. There's an energy outbreak, more like a conflict between Kira's spell and Diablo's command, and Kira desperately tries to keep his spell together, yelling in frustration. The spell is finally broken as Diablo asks Sherah to say her mind once again. In tears, Sherah reveals that she wants to be free, to be together with Diablo and Rem forever. Kira is beyond frustrated, making faces like he stubbed his little toe by 2 in the morning and is trying to suppress the pain. He crashes out. He brings out his last resort, a crystal containing a pretty dangerous summon that, according to him, can destroy the world because he just doesn't care anymore. Diablo steps up to the challenge, mentioning he'll give Kira his reward. With this, Kira throws in his magic crystal like a Pokemon ball, summoning a fierce-looking monster. The monster starts flexing its fierceness as Kira keeps gloating. Despite Sherah's plea that Diablo retreat, he's pretty confident he can defeat the monster. Kira tries to order the monster, Hydra, to attack, but it takes a swing at him, meaning he can't control it. Diablo starts attacking, but despite dealing serious damage to the monster, it regenerates. It attacks Diablo in return, and Kira as well, who is basically playing the role of a cheerleader, only that he doesn't have pom-poms. Diablo tries to study and understand the Hydra, as discovering its weakness is the only way to end the fight. He discovers the monster has several elemental attacks, and Sherah spills some beans about the monster having a core. Kira is still confident about his chances, as the core won't be easy to find. However, Diablo is already familiar with this type of scenario, dashes under the monster and makes an attack. To everyone's surprise, the Hydra is defeated. Kira can't believe his eyes, his plan, backup plan, and emergency plan have all been thwarted. Diablo isn't finished with him though, and mentions that he has to be punished for his deeds. Just as Diablo is about to strike him down, Sherah intervenes. Even though she loathes her brother and he deserves to be punished, she pleads for mercy as he's still family. Diablo asks to confirm if this is actually Sherah's decision or if she's being controlled again, and after this, he lets Kira go. But before he runs out of sight, he gets the Ned Stark treatment. His head is taken off. As everyone is in shock, stepping out of camouflage alongside his men is Lord Galford. The outbreak of a war was already decided, and Galford is standing on business, ordering the elimination of the elven troops and the capture of Sherah, the elven princess. Diablo doesn't agree with this, asking if Galford's plan all along was to make him fight the elves to justify him taking over Greenwood. Galford doesn't deny this, but only mentions that he'll be forced to eliminate Diablo as well if he tries to interfere. He traps Diablo in a magical barrier, which, for the first time, Diablo doesn't know anything about. Escaping won't be easy. Alicia steps up as well, confronting Galford for intending to eliminate the elves even though they've already surrendered. But Galford mentions that he's only doing his duty, asking if Alicia is questioning his military judgment. Alicia draws out her sword, but Galford cuts it down so fast that his movement is unnoticed. Seeing how powerful Galford is and how serious the situation is, Diablo locks in. He follows the flow of magic till he detects the center and breaks the spell. Galford is surprised Diablo was able to break free so easily, but stops his men from moving in. This is clearly a 1v1 scenario, and Galford is hell-bent on getting Diablo out of his way. They begin fighting, and although Galford is incredibly skilled, Diablo is strategic owing to his experience as a gamer. He outwits Galford and ends the fight. Although Diablo won, he admits in his mind that Galford is the toughest opponent he has faced here. However, Galford isn't out just yet. To avoid the fight from dragging on, Diablo tries to talk big and intimidate Galford, making him believe there's a significant power gap between them. But Galford mentions he can still report to the king, which will be bad for Diablo. Alicia cuts in, stating that she won't let this happen as she'll report to the king about Galford's intentions. At this point, it seems like Galford just wants to be unalived as he points out that taking his life is the surest option for Diablo. Diablo agrees to take him on anytime, but threatens that if Galford ever moves against him or his possessions, well, it's a threat, so he's being extra sinister. With this, Galford leaves with his troops. Diablo low-key heaves a sigh of relief. After praising Diablo for defeating Galford, Alicia requests the remaining healing portions he has to help the injured elves. And just before going on, she asks Diablo to attend to Sherah, who is grieving. Sherah didn't quite like her brother, but seeing him go out like that really broke her. She weeps in Diablo's comfort. Days have passed since the incident, and everything seems normal. Sherah is slowly getting back to being herself with the help of Rem after being cold for a while. Diablo, on the other hand, is unmotivated, left with only regret and pain that he hasn't received anything for the quest since he beat up his employer, Galford. While he lies there loathing Galford, Sylvie comes in with some alcohol to get his spirits up as well as recover his magic points. Diablo is confident that in this form, he's probably immune to getting tipsy, but this doesn't go according to his plan as he gets drunk after a glass. Deep into the night, a random man is sent to the afterlife by a mysterious lady along with his friends. The lady believes the human race is awful and should be wiped out. Meanwhile, Sadler, a paladin, executes villagers whom he refers to as worshippers of the demon lord, feeling satisfied with his action. In the imperial capital castle, Alicia has returned and seems quite friendly with a maid until Sadler arrives, scaring the maid away. Sadler and Alicia do not seem to get along well. He claims he helped those villagers find salvation. When Alicia asks if he hates the mortal races, he denies it, claiming that he loves them, which is why he cannot forgive those who worship the demon lord. As Alicia is leaving, Sadler informs her that he will be coming to Faltra as well. He mentions that the head priest revealed a prophecy indicating that there are omens of the Demon Lord's revival in the Western City, and he wants to investigate it. Meanwhile, Rem is teaching Sherah how to summon creatures. Sherah successfully summons a bird, and Rem compliments her, though she notes it is not a strong summon. Its special ability, Synchro-Sight, allows one to see everything the summon sees, but it cannot be used for long since it consumes magic power. Rem explains that it is most useful when one is lost. Sherah, unimpressed, accepts the summon nonetheless and wants to forge a bond with it. Diablo, who has been relaxing, finally speaks up and asks what the stone is. Rem explains that it is a magic stone needed to forge a pact in the enslavement ritual, and she gives one to him as well. Sherah enslaves the bird even though she is not completely satisfied with it. Diablo demonstrates the bird's advantage by tossing a coin far away. Using the bird, Sherah is able to see where the coin falls. Diablo encourages her to shoot it, and she successfully hits the target. That means she can attack enemies even when she cannot see them herself. She's finally impressed, but suddenly catches a waft of a bad smell and assumes it is coming from Rem, embarrassing the girl, who refuses to accept it. Sherah suggests that they all bathe together. Diablo realizes quite late that she means without swimsuits. He panics and stutters, refusing to join them, and hides behind a rock. As Sherah and Rem bicker and do some weird stuff, Diablo overhears them and wishes to look but lacks the boldness to do so. Suddenly, he hears a third voice and immediately comes out. It is Edelgard! She reveals that she has only come to talk because someone informed her that Rem possesses a demon's soul. Sherah is confused, and Rem finally confesses the truth. By the end of their conversation, Sherah hugs Rem, feeling sympathy for her and wanting to support her as a friend. Edelgard then asks Rem if she wants to defeat the Demon Lord. Rem affirms this and asks a question in return. She always thought she'd be killed if a fallen found out. Edelgard reassures her, stating that the Demon Lord is delicate and a vessel cannot be broken. Diablo asks if she knows how to completely revive the Demon Lord. She claims she does, explaining that the resurrection ritual poses no risk to Rem's life and that Rem will be treasured as the mother of the Demon Lord. Sensing their disbelief, Edelgard offers to teach Diablo the ritual so that the fallen will not have to touch Rem. Diablo considers this ritual, thinking they share a common goal to extract the Demon Lord from Rem. However, he wonders if he could defeat it afterward. He agrees to the ritual but adds that he will destroy the Demon Lord imposter once it is out. Edelgard doubts his capability, prompting Diablo to question whether she has forgotten his power. In an instant, they both have their weapons drawn at each other's throats. Edelgard tells him she will be waiting 3 nights from now, on the night of the full moon at Starfall Tower, then leaves. On the night of the ritual, there is tension in the air. Alicia arrives from the capital, and when Diablo asks how she knew they would be there since they only entered by chance, she ignores the question and insists they return to the inn immediately. On the way, she informs him about Sadler, revealing that his level as a knight is over 100. Diablo guesses that Sadler should be on par with Galford or possibly better, as he has not fought a paladin before and is unfamiliar with their stats. Alicia explains that Sadler believes they are Demon Lord worshippers and will subject them to torture until they confess to such worship. Realizing they will be in a difficult situation, Diablo plans to hide in his forte to avoid provoking Sadler into a fight. However, they soon encounter Sadler and his minions. As they introduce themselves, Diablo remembers that they have an important mission for the night and should not provoke Sadler into a fight. He decides to act normal and refrain from saying anything he shouldn't, but immediately introduces himself as a demon lord from another world. Everyone is shocked, including him. Sadler takes it as a joke, and Alicia laughs along to cover the awkwardness. However, Sadler expresses disappointment in Alicia for associating with such people. Rem speaks up, asking if Sadler has a problem with that. He responds by telling her to know her place, referring to her as a slave. Despite his threat, Rem stands up for herself until Sadler casts a spell on her, calling it the power of God. Diablo is confused, but soon recognizes that this is magic. He calls Sadler out on his deception. Sadler frees Rem, which leaves Alicia relieved. Now fully focused on Diablo, he decides to impose divine punishment upon him. He becomes further annoyed when Diablo claims that such feeble magic won't work on him, and decides to turn Diablo into stone. Diablo uses his magic reflection, resulting in Sadler being petrified instead. Alicia recognizes this. She finally understands that Sadler was actually a sorcerer, and his skill level allows him to cast spells without saying their names. Diablo mentions that the spell will wear off eventually. He then turns to check on Rem. She assures him that she is fine and thanks him for saving her again. Watching Sadler's minions carry him away, Alicia asks if it was truly okay to let him go. Diablo realizes that she might be right but plays it cool, saying he doesn't care if a small fry like Sadler lives or not. He adds that he won't show him mercy if he challenges him again, to which Alicia immediately switches and agrees with him. Diablo stares at her. They wait at the hotel until it's finally time to go. Rem thinks they should tell Alicia, and Sherah agrees, stating that Alicia is nice and would understand. Diablo opposes the idea, but Rem insists, so he gives up. When the secret is shared with Alicia, she empathizes with Rem and promises to support her in any way she can. The 3 girls share an emotional hug, but Diablo feels something is off. He shakes off the unease, blaming it on his poor communication skills and lack of friends. Meanwhile, Edelgard is already at the tower waiting. Diablo and his ladies finally arrive at their destination. Edelgard has already drawn the magic circle for the ritual. Diablo introduces Alicia, but Edelgard doesn't doesn't seem to care, which surprises him. The purpose of the ritual is to fill the demon lord Krebsholm's soul with magic power, a process Edelgard believes will hasten her resurrection. Rem places her trust in Diablo, who promises to keep his word and set her free. As the ritual begins, Rem lays on the platform, and Diablo is asked to pour magic into the soul of Krebsholm, which resides in her stomach. He does this, but Rem starts acting dramatically, making the situation weird. When he finishes, Edelgard comments that it's not enough. The demon lord's essence is even deeper. She suggests that Diablo make a hole in Rem's stomach to get closer to it. Sherah objects, saying Rem will die. So Edelgard proposes using an already open hole, which everyone finds odd, but they realize they have no choice. After several awkward minutes, Diablo manages to find the soul and pours in enough magic to activate the magic circle. A massive shadow begins to emerge, exciting Edelgard while terrifying the others. Diablo checks on Rem, who weakly asks him to win. Suddenly, the light disappears and a dark smoke spreads around the area. When it clears, a little girl appears. That's Krebsholm. Edelgard eagerly greets her and introduces herself. Diablo notes that Krebsholm isn't what he expected, but he still plans to fight her. Krebsholm accepts the challenge, vowing to defeat him in a brutal manner. However, she pauses, looking confused. She knows there's supposed to be a particularly violent way to accomplish this, but she can't remember it. She gives up and decides to burn everything to ash, claiming it's what a demon lord would do. Sherah says she can't, and Krebsholm innocently asks if she really can't. Edelgard is frustrated that Krebsholm is listening to mortals, but Krebsholm still behaves like a child seeking permission. Even Diablo is puzzled, wondering if she has lost some memories. Alicia points out that a demon lord is supposed to destroy the mortal races. Krebsholm agrees, but Rem interrupts, asking why the demon lord does that. Krebsholm tries to recall the reason but cannot. Rem begs her not to pursue destruction anymore. Sherah supports. Krebsholm agrees since she doesn't recall the reason in the first place. Alicia questions Edelgard about this decision. Edelgard says that the demon lord is all that matters to her and she is satisfied with Krebsholm's choice. Alicia does not seem pleased. Krebsholm says she's hungry, and Sherah offers her biscuits. She suddenly becomes ecstatic and declares her mission to devour all the biscuits in the world. Diablo finds the situation amusing, but Alicia does not look happy. That's sus. On their way home, Diablo carries Rem like a bride since she hasn't regained her strength yet. Rem admits it's hard to accept the new situation with Krebsholm, but believes there's no need for conflict if Krebsholm won't destroy the mortal races. Alicia suddenly calls Diablo's attention, pointing to something above them. It's an owl that transforms into an owlman, Eulerx. He congratulates Krebsholm on her resurrection and introduces himself as one who has served the demon lords for generations. Diablo recalls that he was in cross reverie. Edelgard explains that he is the oldest and strongest among them. Eulerx proposes a sacrifice to celebrate, and of all things, he suggests slaughtering all the mortals present. Krebsholm quickly refuses, stating she won't be able to enjoy biscuits if he ends their lives. Eulerx is puzzled. Upon learning that Krebsholm has no intention of destroying the human race, Eulerx believes she is incomplete and needs to reincarnate again. Edelgard stops him from attacking, but being stronger than her, Eulerx doesn't have a hard time flooring her. Diablo leaves the girls in Alicia's care and joins the fight. He interrupts just in time to save Edelgard's head from being cracked open like a nut as Eulerx flings her away to escape Diablo's attacks. Diablo attacks relentlessly, but Eulerx keeps dodging his strikes. When it's Eulerx's turn to attack, Diablo uses reflection magic. Eulerx recognizes this magic as belonging to another demon lord whom Diablo had defeated, earning the magic ring as a reward. Eulerx refuses to retreat and attempts to attack Krebsholm, but Rem intervenes to save her, and Diablo launches a defensive strike. Krebsholm is touched and praises Rem for her good work, but Sherah teaches her how to say thank you. Now humbled, Eulerx realizes that Diablo is no ordinary mortal. He decides to withdraw and live to fight another day. Alicia approaches Diablo, questioning if it was wise to let Eulerx leave. Diablo responds that he has lost interest, but internally he acknowledges it would be reckless to chase after Eulerx, as he doesn't know where he might go. He commands the group to continue their journey, though Alicia looks upset. Later on, Edelgard bids farewell to Krebsholm, explaining that she cannot enter the human city. She says she will wait for Krebsholm in the forest, ready to be summoned whenever. As they resume their journey, Sherah suggests they start calling Krebsholm Clem to avoid suspicion. Diablo retires to bed exhausted. Clem can't relate though, as infinite magic power constantly well up from deep within her. Diablo asks about Rem and is told that she's staying in Alicia's room. Sherah gets naughty as a way to recharge him. Even Clem finds it weird, but scratch that, she joins them anyway. I don't know how exactly this works, but it does. Diablo's magic points are fully recovered. Meanwhile, in Alicia's room, she stands by the window remembering how cruel her parents were. They wanted her to be the perfect daughter and put other humans first. She's pissed. She needs the demon lord to fulfill the demon lord's duty. Meanwhile, Sadler seems to be in denial of Diablo's power. He vows never to forgive him. Diablo and his ladies are heading to a coffee shop, with Sherah and Clem holding hands and singing a new biscuit song. Clem asks Rem to join in, but she does so half-heartedly. Alicia, however, is not amused. When they arrive at the cookie shop, Clem excitedly tries the cookies but dismisses coffee as just some muddy water that tastes bad. Where's the lie though? Diablo sits with Celestine, who is relieved that Clem isn't attempting to harm the mortals. She suggests they sit back and observe how events unfold, and she congratulates Rem on her freedom. As they leave the coffee shop, Diablo and Sherah Sherah walk ahead. Sherah is happy that Clem won't hurt them and that Rem has regained her freedom. However, they soon realize that the other ladies have vanished like Zorro reading a map. Alicia is leading them down a dark alley. In the alley, as Alicia leads Rem and Clem further away, Rem asks if Diablo and Sherah know where they are going, but Alicia tells her that they don't. She initially wanted to take Clem and bring Sherah later, but she's not sure what might serve as the key. Diablo takes Sherah back to the inn and asks her to wait for him while he searches for the others. As he searches alleys, he feels an odd stirring in his chest. Alicia questions why Clem has lost her memories and suggests that there could be other ways to fully awaken Clem's memory and bloodlust, enabling her to wipe out the mortal race. Rem is shocked and asks what has gotten into Alicia, but Alicia insists she is the same as always. She simply no longer feels the need to pretend they're all friends. Clem threatens to burn Alicia, who excitedly agrees, thinking it will awaken the demon lord, seeing it as a blessing. Clem looks at her in disbelief. Rem realizes that Alicia was behind Gallick's attack, and Alicia boldly confirms it. Just then, Sadler and his minions arrive. Alicia claims to have been investigating Rem and her other demon worshippers, accusing them of kidnapping Clem. Rem is angered, but Sadler feels satisfied to think he was right about them. Rem summons Asilau, and Sadler commands his minions to get unalived first, but he easily takes down the beast when it gets to him. Rem charges at Sadler but doesn't get the chance to strike. Just as she's about to lose consciousness, Alicia whispers to her that hatred is what Clem needs. Meanwhile, Diablo is still searching for the girls. He realizes he was probably right to suspect Alicia. When Rem regains consciousness, she finds herself and Clem in a cage being carted away. Clem offers her a biscuit like it's a band-aid for trauma, and then asks if it's true that Rem has suffered for a long time because of her. Rem is taken aback. Clem mentions that she heard it from Alicia and is surprised that Rem still tried to save her after everything. Rem responds by saying that she has spent her whole life hating Clem but can't bring herself to want her gone. Clem says she understands and acknowledges that it's only natural for Rem to feel hatred, considering the pain she caused her. Rem points out that Clem isn't so different from her. She's also been sealed away and alone for generations. Rem says that she wants to protect Clem and will not let Alicia have her way. Clem insists she can break the cage and turn the armed goons to ashes with her powers, but Rem discourages this. She wants Clem to remain as she is now and not to end any mortal lives. Clem promises to abide by that. Eventually, they arrive at a place of torture, a church. The building is filled with torture equipment that frightens Rem, but she maintains her composure and firmly tells Sadler that she is not a demon worshipper and will not make a false confession. Sadler refuses to believe her, insisting on torturing her in the name of salvation. Rem questions Alicia's reason for betrayal, and the snake only says that she has her own goals. Clem offers to help Rem, but Rem declines. Alicia leaves Sadler to his work. Meanwhile, Diablo has been searching for a long time without a lead. He heads to the Adventurers Guild, hoping to ask for help, but struggles to find the right words. He only knows how to be commanding. Just then, a boy enters, reporting that he saw a paladin carrying Rem away. Diablo inquires whether anyone else was with them, and the boy confirms that they had a little girl as well, heading to a church in the North District. Diablo thanks him and quickly runs off, surprising everyone with his gratitude. He races as fast as he can, determined to arrive in time. Galford spots a horde of fallen approaching and sends a messenger to Celestine. Celestine promptly erects a barrier to keep the fallen from entering the city. Meanwhile, Sadler begins his assault, taking out his weapon and cutting Rem's ear. Clem wants to intervene, but Rem stops her once more, reminding her of their promise. Sadler continues to torment her, and Clem can't bear to watch. When Sadler hits her away, Clem's cloak falls, revealing her true form. Enraged, she wants to retaliate. Sadler raises his sword to strike her, but Rem jumps in the way, taking the hit herself. Sadler only makes matters worse by stabbing Rem multiple times. At this point, Clem loses her mind, which is understandable. She immediately transforms, and Rem realizes that this is what Alicia meant. She feels terrible for being the reason the Demon Lord is fully resurrected. Sadler foolishly attempts to fight Clem, claiming to be a god. However, he is quickly deleted from existence, literally vaporized, and the Demon Lord awakens completely, striking fear into the entire city. Just then, Diablo arrives, accompanied by Sherah. She used her bird to locate Rem and has seen her current state. Diablo gives Sherah all of his healing potions to save Rem and promises to handle the situation with Clem. The Fallen are gathered outside the city waiting. Ulrich doesn't understand why Alicia is joining them, but Edelgard tells him that Alicia developed today's plan. Alicia is excited to finally end the world she refers to as ugly. Celestine is still relentlessly holding up the barrier. Sylvie arrives where Galford is and asks him to lead the magic circle in the north to adventurers. Diablo is already heading there, and no one should get in his way. Diablo is trying to reach out to Clem, but Sis is in her villain art. She doesn't recognize him anymore. She attacks, and he keeps dodging. Meanwhile, Sherah runs over to Rem with the healing potions. Clem is in full rage mode, no chill. She doesn't even give Diablo a chance to counter. Diablo decides to create some distance and activate his powerful spells. However, the outer walls and the barrier tower are too close, so he starts to restrain the area of effect. He continues to fight, reflecting Clem's attacks while still casting his restriction spells. Sherah feeds Rem all the potions and pleads with her not to leave them. Rem finally wakes up, recalling everything that has happened. She tells Sherah about Alicia. When Rem learns that Diablo gave all his potions to heal her, she becomes concerned. But Bro is doing just fine. Oh wait, he's not, but he gets back on his feet and continues dodging Clem's attacks while Rem and Sherah watch. Just as they are almost hit, Emil comes to the the rescue. Clem continues her destruction and Diablo sets his final restriction spot. He activates the barrier and blasts Clem. Emil, awestruck, nearly gets fried, but Diablo saves his sparkly behind. Clem is down, but not out. Sherah calls to her while holding up Rem. Rem asks Clem to come back so they can eat biscuits together. Clem seems to remember her and they share an emo moment. The armor around Clem cracks and she returns to human form. Celestine is relieved. Clem apologizes for breaking her promise. Rem reassures her that it doesn't matter and that she will stand by Clem's side regardless of what others think. They hug while Diablo and Emil watch. Emil is surprised but promises not to pry further, declaring himself an ally of all girls. Diablo is pleased but suddenly feels weak. However, he doesn't want anyone to see a demon lord on the verge of collapsing, so he stands tall. Meanwhile, Alicia and Edelgard are disappointed that Clem has returned to her human form. Ulrich is angry with Edelgard for failing a second time and wasting the time of countless fallen. Edelgard whispers to Alicia to run to the city when she gives the signal, and then she attacks. In the city, Sylvie praises Diablo for a job well done but states that she can't let Clem roam free. Diablo asks if she wants to fight him, but she replies that she trusts him but not Clem. Rem refuses to let Clem go. Sylvie informs them that a huge army of fallen approach the city, but Clem denies summoning them. Diablo is unsure of what to do, but then an idea strikes him. He offers Clem the opportunity to live in the city with Rem and Sherah by becoming enslaved to him. She initially refuses, but Sherah and Rem support the idea, assuring her that Diablo isn't like other slavers, so she accepts. Diablo carries out the procedure and kisses her to seal it. Sylvie reports to Galford that the demon lord has not resurrected and that the fallen have withdrawn thanks to Diablo. Galford is displeased that they were saved by a demon. At the inn, Diablo is in bed again, exhausted. Sherah and Rem join him and invite Clem, but she feels unworthy after the terrible things she did. They assure her that it's okay, with Diablo proudly claiming that her magic can't harm him in any way, and she excitedly joins them. As they prepare to sleep, someone bursts into the room and holds Sherah hostage. It's Alicia, who is surprised to see Rem alive. Clem demands Alicia to unhand Sherah so that she can tear her apart. Alicia states that she'll let Sherah go once her business is done, and Clem can do whatever she wants to her afterward. Alicia explains that she heard the demon lord can heal the wounds of fallen and asks Clem to come with her. They find a severely battered Edelgard in another room. She was punished by the other fallen after their plan failed. Diablo remembers that when they met Edelgard at the tower, she never asked who Alicia was, and he realizes they were working together all along. Alicia pleads with Clem to save Edelgard. Clem asks Diablo what he thinks, and he encourages her to heal Edelgard, which she does in an instant like a Pokemon Center. Edelgard immediately bows before Clem, thanking her. She asks Clem why she returned to her human form, to which Clem replies that the people here risked their lives to restore her to normal. Edelgard is confused, thinking humans and the fallen are supposed to be enemies. Clem agrees, saying she doesn't understand it either, and that's why she decided to live in the human city, also because of biscuits. She commands Edelgard to stop her terrible actions, warning that she will no longer be her follower if she does not comply. Edelgard is forced to accept this demand. Alicia finally lets Sherah go and thanks Clem for her help, also telling her to do whatever she pleases with her. Clem asks why an Imperial Knight turned out to be a demon worshipper, and Alicia explains that she had been exposed to too much of the dark side, surrounded by bad people who pretended to be good. She says they were all the same, forcing their nonsensical righteousness on everyone else. Alicia cannot accept this reality and feels there is no place for her in that world. She feels alone. Diablo relates to her loneliness. Alicia asks again if Clem won't destroy the mortal races. Clem rebukes her, saying she doesn't hate them as much as Alicia does and that she still has hope for them. Alicia accepts this but decides to take her own life as punishment for her betrayals. Ren tries to stop her, but she refuses and attempts to go through with it. However, Diablo casts a spell, making her dagger disappear. He tells her not to be naive enough to consider death a means of atonement. Alicia recounts the terrible things she has done and reminds him that she is an Imperial Knight. Diablo advises her to disregard any titles given to her by people who mean nothing to her, urging her to simply be herself and live the life she wants. He says more motivational things, surprising the other girls. Alicia questions if someone as ugly as she is can truly fit in somewhere, but Sherah reassures her that she is not ugly. She explains that if Alicia's heart were truly ugly, she wouldn't have risked coming to them for Edelgard's sake. Rem supports this, sharing that she too felt lonely before she met Diablo and Sherah. She tells Alicia that she forgives her. Alicia is touched but feels uncertain about how to be herself. Diablo tells her that she is the one who must decide that. Sherah praises Diablo, saying he has always been cool, but this is the coolest she has ever seen him. Rem agrees. Suddenly, Diablo starts to feel weak. Clem, having learned from the last time, tries to initiate their weird act. Sherah joins her, and the others do as well. Diablo faints.